Part 22. I am the strongest officer of the Straw Hats. Author, Super Red. Chapter 213. The coastline of the Flower City. Located in a dangerous location, the defense line is constantly eroded by waves. Of course, it is not as refreshing as the inner island where the birds are singing and the flowers are fragrant. Just on the border defense line, the chilling atmosphere is enough to make people uncomfortable. What's more, there are huge waves, which are constantly hitting from under the rugged rocks, setting off waves of fishy sea breeze. It is definitely not the romantic sea breeze described by the bard. Today's defense line is more unstable than before. At the end of the sea where the water and sky were the same color, countless sails suddenly rose, and huge ships lined up in formation, forming a sea, dyeing the blue and clear sea with the color of gunpowder smoke. The warships that covered the sky and covered the sun were sailing on the sea, taking away the brilliance of the sun, and at the same time, they also made the calm sea become magnificent. Bang! Huge cannonballs fell from the sky and exploded in the gravel beach, forming gorgeous fireworks and completely breaking this precarious tranquility. Enemy attack. Navy, yes Navy. The Navy is going to force a landing. Help. Form a camp, use bunkers to provide cover, and wait for them to come ashore to attack. Attack. With just a few of us, we may not be able to escape even if we run for our lives. Run. If you don't run away, it will be too late by the time they get ashore. My hometown is behind me, run. Where can I run? Unauthorized evacuees, die. In just one round of dozens of artillery shells, not a single soldier was dispatched. The defenders on the coastline were already in disarray. If it weren't for the commanders holding them down, they would have been defeated and fled long ago. A person's name, the shadow of a tree. The Navy, which has been operating in the sea for so many years, is definitely first-rate in terms of reputation. What's more, the opponent directly crossed the natural barrier, the waterfall, and hit directly at the door of their own house. The offensive of the divine soldiers was enough to defeat their psychological defenses. On top of a naval battleship. Have you detected the movements of the Straw Hats? The handsome green bull turned his head and asked the white mask next to him. Although it is not of much use in fighting, the CP agency is still quite useful for collecting intelligence. Green Bull is focused on the Straw Hats, whom he has never fought against. Ignore all the miscellaneous fish on the coastline that are making fierce resistance. This, General Green Bull reports that there is currently no current whereabouts of the Straw Hats. We only know that they last appeared in the flower capital port 3 days ago and have since disappeared. After all, it was a joint operation between the Navy and the CP agency. Although there was a gap between the two, Mask, as a subordinate, still returned honestly. However, the answer was somewhat unsatisfactory. Whereabouts unknown, Kizaru glanced at his mouth and said noncommittally on his wretched face, smoking a cigarette. Yes, General Kizaru, ever since he saw the Straw Hats in the Flower City, there has been no trace of them, and even their car, the Sunshine Mile, has disappeared. Mask answered bravely. Waste. The Navy didn't say anything, but the arrogant CP chief jumped out with an angry look on his face. A bunch of trash. You can't even find a target as big as the Straw Hats. What's the use of the CP agency distributing so much activity funds to you every year? I actually made myself so embarrassed in front of the Navy. As the CP chief who is the boss of these guys, it can be said that my lungs are about to explode. Bang! A shot from the flying finger gun knocked half of the mask off his face as a warning. Then he continued to speak fiercely, "Get out of here. There is no trace of the Straw Hats, and you don't have to come back. You can all commit suicide and apologize. They are all a bunch of idiots. Waste." After driving away these unsightly guys, he started to curse in anger. Just when the CP president was getting angry, Fujitora, who had been pretending to be a backdrop, suddenly opened his mouth, interrupting his official authority. I think it shouldn't be used for the time being. The CP chief couldn't help but frowned. What? Looking at Fujitora with a suspicious face, does this old blind man also want to see my excitement? Fujitora was too lazy to pay attention to this guy, turned his head directly, raised the cane he was leaning on, and pointed towards the distant coastline. No, if my sense of sight is good, the Straw Hats are already here. Fujitora, who had been carefree all this time, finally became serious with a slight expression on his face. Compared with the new CP chief who is like a clown, it is indeed the little monster by you who can arouse his inner vigilance more. Oh! Sure enough, it's here. On Kizaru's wretched face, a glimmer of understanding flashed across his face. His calm heart began to stir. In this situation, what should I do? Is it them? Among the three generals, only the handsome Green Bull still looked curious. Reinforcements. It's reinforcements. Everyone, hold on. The general has arrived with reinforcements. It's the Straw Hat Pirates. The fifth pirate emperor of the New World. Tisk, your news is too outdated. Big Mom was killed by him, it should be the four emperors. That's right, it is said that Kaido, the 100 Beasts, was also defeated at their hands. I didn't expect the general to be able to bring in such reinforcements, and the country of Wano was saved. Any help? Do you really think that just the Straw Hats can turn everything around? The CP chief was furious. As the ship got closer, under the cover of the sight, he could hear not only the scenes on the coastline, but also the sounds. Looking at the group of unsightly samurai, he actually thought that the Straw Hats were the savior. Looked so confident that he felt angry. The CP director snorted coldly, Savior? I'd like to see how many nails the Straw Hat crew can hammer in with their iron bodies. Come on, release all the ammunition depots and order all ships to start saturation strikes until the opposite coastline is completely destroyed. He was so furious that he started giving orders arrogantly. He completely forgot that he was on a naval warship, not a world government ship. As expected, none of the Navy commanders on the ship paid him any attention, but the members of the CP organization did. I followed his orders, but unfortunately the number was too small to be useful. The CP chief, who was treated as fart when he spoke, became even angrier. Asshole! Go quickly! Wait, are you an accomplice of the pirates? The starter, who had been inexplicably blamed for so much, looked at Fujitora with an expression of embarrassment. Hope to get some help from him. Aokiji is not here, Kizaru is paddling the water, Green Bull is new, and the only person who can really speak in control of the Navy is Admiral Fujitora. Damn it! My order is invalid. Fujitora, do you want to continue delaying and give those rebellious people a chance to breathe? Don't forget that you ordered the retreat when you faced the fainting Bayou. I am the strongest officer of the Straw Hats. Author, Super Red. Chapter 214. Now you are hesitating here, stalling for time and refusing to give the order to take action. Could it be that you, like Kizaru, are also undercover agents of the Straw Hats? The CP chief threatened in a sinister tone. Kizaru. What you said is yours, why are you bringing it to me? Can't afford it? Will I get hurt even if I lie down and do nothing? I can't wash my dirty hands off my feelings. Fujitora turned his head and glanced at this clown-like guy. Although his eyes were closed tightly, the cold gaze seemed to rise from the bottom of his heart, making him feel suffocated. Then, he didn't bother to pay attention to the monkey who was jumping up and down, exposing his red buttocks. He raised his head slightly, faced the coastline, and said in a faint tone, "Give me the order, attack with the whole army. Open the ammunition depot, spare no effort to stockpile armaments, and use saturation coverage attack." Although the CP agencies are not as good as the previous ones, this clown's order that's right. As the saying goes, the truth is within the range of the cannon. Even with such unscientific things as devil fruit and haki, artillery fire is still an unstoppable attack for most pirates. Even if it is powerful, it can still consume the opponent's strength. When distance is the advantage, saturation artillery attack is definitely the optimal solution to the battle. It's a pity for those innocent soldiers who lost their lives under the artillery fire. But either the other side died tragically, or our own side faced the enemy and suffered heavy losses. No matter how holy Fujitora is, no matter how soft-hearted, she would never choose the latter. Fujitora couldn't help but sigh, with a sharp look in his eyes. Reload. Put. Boom, 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 the continuous sound of artillery sounded from the warship, and the deathly fire burst out from the dark gun barrel. The blue sky was instantly filled with black cannonballs. The Navy attacks. So many shells. It's over, it's dead, run quickly, it's impossible to resist. The blinding artillery fire directly destroyed all the confidence of the defenders. The deserters even forgot to take the weapons in their hands and ran away behind them. They cried for their fathers and mothers all the way, and they only hated their parents for being born. 2 legs were lost. This is not the dozens of tentative attacks earlier. At a glance, there are thousands of them. If we really want to kill them, not to mention the people with flesh and blood, even the coast will have to be bombarded. Into slag. Damn it! Zoro cursed secretly. With his kendo ability, it is certainly impossible for a mere shell to hurt him, but relatively speaking, it would be a fool's errand for him to intercept them all. Mean. Actually using this kind of attack. Frankie shouted loudly, no matter how strong the quality of his technology is, under the sheer quantity, it is still fragile and cannot even make a bubble. Stop talking nonsense. Take the time to get started. Nami showed off her big sister style. Enel, activate all your electricity and help me strengthen the electromagnetic field force. Wei, try your best to help me inflate the wind. Jinbei, use water escape to stop a group of them for me first and buy me some time. Baiyu, if I really can't stop you, then I can only ask you to lead everyone to evacuate. Commands came out of her mouth one after another. The little cat who took over the position of captain of the airship began to give orders with a heroic look on his face. Good. Then take a look at mine first, Jinbei nodded confidently. In a flash, he ran to the coast and formed a seal to draw the power of the sea water. Water escape, great waterfall technique. Water release shark bullet technique. Water release shark bullet technique. Under the pull of Jinbei, the sea water turned into a 100-meter-high waterfall and surged out. At the top, huge and ferocious sharks formed one after another. Jumped out of the sea, opened its mouth to swallow the cannonballs in the sky, and then fell into the sea and launched a series of bombings. Snort. A murloc that can control sea water? Judging from the scale, it is indeed quite standard. But, relying on its own capabilities to resist artillery attacks? Act recklessly. The CP chief laughed disdainfully. It has to be said that although the CP chief has a bad mouth, he still has 2 brushes. He can see through Jinbei's body at a glance, and his water-formed attack looks extremely huge. But the level of mana consumption is also exaggerated, as much as his power. As time passes, the cannonballs in the sky are still continuous, but the speed of sharks jumping on the sea has obviously begun to slow down. Hit an egg against a stone and wait until it turns into a dead fish. The CP chief's eyes were cold, as if he were looking at a corpse. It's now. Rush. What? Just when he thought he had a chance to win, a heroic female voice suddenly sounded, making his heart tighten. Super electromagnetic gun, 108,000 hits. Nami's roar echoed on the sea, and the cute little cat finally revealed her feminine side. A bright electric light lit up in front of Nami, and endless brilliance bloomed. Even the sun in the sky, she had all taken away the glory. With Anilu's selfless contribution, the electromagnetic field in front of Nami expanded more than 100 times. The electromagnetic field visible to the naked eye lingered around him, and even Bayu felt numb within 100 meters. The pile up on the ground, the dark coins like a hill were suspended under the pull of the magnetic field, and entered the electromagnetic acceleration orbit. Bang bang bang, at a speed that was imperceptible to the naked eye, the coins that had experienced electromagnetic acceleration began their journey. Countless dazzling thunders lit up in the sky, easily smashing the cannonballs in the air. After exploding a ball of fireworks, they continued to charge forward without looking back. It was as if the super electromagnetic gun had been activated, and the forbidden technique of multiple shadow clones was fired. Although the power of a single ejection is not as powerful as that of Nami's hand, hundreds or even thousands of them can be ejected in the blink of an eye, which is absolutely terrifying at the crushing level. Whoa 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 whoa. What a powerful force. Even though he was involved in this attack, Anilu couldn't help but look shocked. Yahoo! Let these Qinghai people have a taste of the power, let them know what the majesty of God is. Anilu waved the golden stick with excitement on his face. Being able to join forces to carry out such an attack, even he, who is the second best in the world, is full of pride. Nami is actually so strong. We agreed to eat salted fish together, why did you quietly turn over? It must be Bayu, secretly tutoring her at night. Boom, 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 in the eyes of everyone's excitement. There was an endless stream of loud noises in the sky, and fireworks bloomed in the blue sky. With the spewing thunder, they overlapped to form a giant thunder net, covering the sky. The ammunition that blocked the sun was gradually emptied. While the sky was still clean, the electromagnetic surging thunder network had no intention of dispersing. Instead, it slowly fell in the sky and descended downwards, descending. The Navy is descending. The soldiers' pupils shrank and they lost the ability to speak. The dark purple thunder net was like a fishing net. It was controlled by invisible hands and was thrown towards the Navy's warships. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I am the strongest officer of the Straw Hats. Author, Super Red. Chapter 215. Not good. Fujitora's heart tightened. He could no longer sit still in the presence of the old god. If he continued to watch from the sidelines, when the giant thunder net came down, the Navy would suffer heavy losses. Kizaru, come with me to intercept, be sure to block that thing. Green Bull, you are not good at group attacks, so just stay on the warship to prevent the Straw Hats from making any strange moves. The situation was urgent, and he was too lazy to pay attention to the CP chief who was jumping up and down. With his eyes tightly closed, Fujitora directly deflected gravity and jumped towards the sky. Fire Festival. Lifting into the air on the rubble formed by the floating stones, the terrifying devil fruit power emerged from Fujitora's body. Under the endless gravity pull and the boundless perception of seeing, hearing and color. Come down here, Fujitora shouted angrily. In the distant sky, a few bright lights suddenly flashed, and then countless stars appeared from nothing in the sky and continued to grow bigger. That's a meteorite. General Fujitora pulled down the meteorite from the sky. Meteor strikes thunder, is this really a battle that humans can do? The huge meteor fell from the sky, dragging out a long flame tail, and hit the giant thunder net, exploding bright fireworks. After all, it is the power of heaven and earth, the wrath of nature, even if it is electromagnetic fierce, violent thunder. If you want to completely destroy these meteorites falling from the sky to prevent them from being smashed on the coastline, it will consume a lot of energy. In the blink of an eye, many branch nodes of the thunder network surging with lightning began to dim. He stood up. It was obvious that his strength was excessively consumed and he lost his strength. Tisk, the guys in the straw hats are indeed monsters, it's really scary. Kizaru winked, making his already vulgar face look more like a monster. Hey, he was so fierce as soon as he came on the field. It seemed that I had no choice but to take action. Although he gave up struggling and planned to take action, he was named after all. If he continued to delay, his suspected identity as an undercover agent would be completely exposed. After sighing, Kizaru had no choice but to choose to go all out. I took action, not seeking merit but seeking no fault. At least let him lie down safely and get a pension. 8-foot Megatama. The strongest move of the shining fruit was used brazenly, and the awakening of the fruit was fully activated. Kizaru had no intention of holding back. The careless figure turned into photons and jumped up, and countless dazzling light bombs burst out. The golden light was several times stronger than the one that dealt with Kaido before. This guy really hit very well. Bayu's face darkened, and he looked at Kizaru with interest. The expression in his eyes changed, as if he was planning something again. A sneeze. An inexplicable cold air rose from his spine, making Kizaru couldn't help but sneeze. Damn it, who is plotting against me again? Kizaru stretched out his hand to wipe his nose, and looked around with a look of displeasure. No matter what, let's deal with the thunder net above first, otherwise it won't be fun if it actually falls. Kizaru shook his head, and concentrated on manipulating the dazzling light bullets, heading towards the nodes of the thunder net. We are both playing with light, and lightning is also light. Kizaru saw the key to the opponent's move at a glance. The grid is not the point, it can be regenerated by electromagnetism. The lightning on the nodes is the key. After the nodes are smashed and the thunder net loses its ability to complete, there is no need for them to attack. Under the huge consumption of thunder, it will not be used for a long time. He will collapse on his own. After solving this big trouble, I guess the suspicion on me should be cleared a lot. Thinking of the beauty, Kizaru's wretched face couldn't help but reveal an even wretched smile. Bang bang bang. In Kizaru's complacent eyes, golden light and thunder continued to explode. But the result was unexpected and shocked him. How is it possible? Kizaru's mouth was so open that he almost dropped to the ground. The dazzling golden light collided with the raging lightning. In his expectation, the light bullet that should have completely destroyed the lightning nodes turned out to be just golden light overflowing, and after a flash, it became dim. The lightning node still looked like a normal person. The attack had no effect. How could this attack be so powerful? If I hit it with all my strength, it would just bubble up. Is my sparkling fruit fake? Or is it that someone secretly exchanged my fruit? I obviously even used the fruit awakening, how could this be the result? Kizaru looked doubtful about life and looked like he had been ruined. If Nami had used the same coins as before, Kizaru's plan would indeed have been flawless. However, what she used today was all knocked from Kojiki Hiyori's hands. A seafloor stone coin. Although it is not as good as using the sea tower stone directly on the devil fruit user's abilities, it can directly imprison them, leaving them powerless to resist. But if it's just, suppressing power is still completely possible. In addition, in order to break through in one fell swoop, Kizaru adopted a ranged group attack, which diluted his strength. It was of course normal for him to return without success under the pressure of Halo Stone. The electromagnetic force is reduced by 30%, and under the suppression of Halo Stone, it can still produce such a degree of impact. It's really scary. Nami, who was always paying attention to the power of the Thunder Giant net, couldn't help but frowned. He was indeed one of the 3 veteran generals, what a monster. No wonder Baiyu always wanted to instigate him. If it hadn't been for the sea gift given by Hiyori this time. The Lushi coin, if it had been the previous one, would have been broken through by him in one fell swoop. The little thieving cat couldn't help but feel a little scared. He looked at each other and saw the fear in his eyes. This guy fought with me before, but he still held back his hands and didn't use his full strength. Enilu's face was dark, and the second thunder god felt humiliated. These two people controlled the thunder net in person. Of course they knew how hard Kizaru worked, but the bystanders didn't have this perspective. In their eyes, that is, Kizaru breaks out rightward arrow, the light bomb rushes into the thunder net, rightward arrow, the light bomb hits GG. Not to mention how huge the momentum is when Kizaru takes action, the result is useless anyway. This bastard is obviously playing a match-fixing game. Coach, I want it report, someone is making a fake here. Humph, this guy is indeed an undercover agent of the Straw Hats, the CP chief snorted proudly. His eyes were full of joy. He finally found the Navy's sore foot. King Jia, just wait. I will report it to the world government so that you will not get any good results. People sit at home and pot. From heaven. The blue pheasant at the Navy headquarters has a black question mark on his face. Who am I messing with? Kizaru is an undercover agent. What does it have to do with Kyuzan and me? Shouldn't you go to Sengoku if you have any questions? I didn't promote Kizaru. I'm just a mascot. I've been stationed at the Navy headquarters since I took office. I am the strongest officer of the Straw Hats. Author, Super Red. Chapter 216. Could this guy really have anything to do with the Straw Hats? However, with Kizaru's character, he shouldn't. Fujitora, who was riding on the gravel, couldn't help but have a suspicious look on his face. The sight was domineering, and he looked at Kizaru without any trace. Unexpectedly, Kizaru, a wretched uncle with a stubble on his face, would also join the rebellion. Damn it, Fujitora couldn't help but cursed. Looking at the giant net with flashing lightning in the sky, Alexander is really on his shoulder. Ta. Gravity suppression full power. Gravity knife tiger. The boiling gravity spurted out, and while desperately pulling the meteorite to fall, he quickly waved the sword in his palm. A series of black killing blows, he just hit them as a flat A bang bang bang, heaven and earth in between, loud noises continued continuously. Hoo ho ho, Fujitora gasped for air. His body was no longer upright as before, but half bent at the waist, and he could barely support himself with the help of his sword. He looked like he was exhausted and exhausted. Phew, finally stopped them all. A heavy sweat fell from Fujitora's forehead. He hurriedly and slowly intercepted all of him before the giant thunder net fell. Call. Looking at the calm sky again, Fujitora couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Feeling relieved, he finally let go of the tight string in his mind. His feet became weak and he couldn't help but stumble. The gravel he stepped on could no longer hold up, carrying his power to float, and he looked down and fell. General Fujitora, be careful. A tall figure with a mask, seeing that the situation was not good, he quickly took the shark knife and thrust it into the deck, and jumped upwards. Caught it? Thank you, Bastiu. Fujitora fell from the air and arrived safely on the deck. He tightened his purple bathrobe tightly and looked at the familiar figure next to him with a grateful look on his face. This is a humble duty, and you are exaggerating. Even if he didn't take action, you would definitely be fine. It's because he was rude. I was too careless, I didn't expect the strength of the Straw Hats to reach this level. Fujitora shook his head. His face was full of fear, but he couldn't help but put on a bit of a wry smile. Originally, he wanted to use firearms to suppress and wear down the strength of the Straw Hats. Unexpectedly, stealing the chicken will end up losing the rice, but instead it's because I was consumed by others. It seems that I can only look at you this time. I have consumed a bit too much, so I need to adjust my breathing for a while. Fujitora looked at the green cow beside him, his face with ravines was a little pale. Bayou, I'm sorry, It was all my fault for not stopping them. Nami, whose strength was exhausted, didn't even have the strength to stand up straight, and she collapsed in Bayu's arms. There was a bit of dejection on the heroic face. The attack that gave high hopes had no effect at all, and it ended like an anticlimax. It really made her a little unwilling and uncomfortable. Fool! You have done a lot. Not only did you stop the Navy's artillery attack, but you also made that guy Yu Xiao use up all his energy. It's already great. Nami, just take a good rest. Let us solve the next task. Bayu said with a serious face. He was not lying. Nami can do this on her own, even with the help of Enel's power reserve. It is indeed great. Yes. Nami-san, don't worry. My devil wind legs will definitely kill them all. Perverted chef, with all your tricks, you'd better protect yourself from the Navy's offensive and survive. Stinky green algae head, do you want to fight? Okay, since there has been internal strife since then, if you have the energy, you should save it to deal with the Navy. That's right. It's time for those Qinghai people to see the majesty of God. Decided. Let's all come together. Let the Navy see our power. I am the man who wants to become the Pirate King. Luffy's passionate shout was like blowing the horn of attack. Everyone in the Straw Hats followed him and rushed towards the Navy that was landing. Except, Usopp. Bayou glanced at his face. Usopp, who had a runny nose, looked as expected, with no trace of surprise on his face. Listening to the intermittent sounds coming from her pregnancy, Bayou couldn't help but stretched out his hand and scratched her nose. With a face full of tenderness, he said, "Little stupid cat. I'm not, a stupid cat, no. No." Nami, who fainted from exhaustion and fell into a half-asleep and half-awake state, frowned and muttered to herself. "Well, no, no." Bayou's mouth curved, and he chuckled. Although he really wanted to stay with Nami like this, but the situation of constant gunfire obviously would not make him feel so comfortable. Looking at the endless war-torn sea, Bayou felt the softness in his heart. Gradually turned into 100 steel making. The 90 black coffin of broken Deo. Upso, Nami will be left to you, you must protect her. I'm going to support everyone first. Abandoning ghost chanting, he directly condensed a dark coffin. After carefully placing Nami inside, Bayou entrusted her to Upso. He walked on the moon steps and rushed towards the sea without looking back. He passed by. After all, he was the one who decided to take over Wano and put it into his pocket. He couldn't just watch the show from behind and let his friends throw their lives and blood in the front. The Straw Hats are all out. The handsome Green Bull immediately noticed the changes on the battlefield. It would be strange if they didn't take action. The opportunity for artillery fire coverage has passed. Notify all sergeants to prepare to join the battle. Fujitora's face showed no surprise, and he issued the order as expected. With the thunder in the sky, he suppressed the artillery fire and created a gap in firepower. If the Straw Hats did not seize this opportunity and rush forward to attack. Instead, they would wait and wait. It would be strange if the firepower recovered and started again. It was really a joke to think that the firepower was clearing the ground. You must send all the extraordinary naval elites to stop the members of the Straw Hats individually, otherwise it would be too harmful for them to intervene in ordinary sergeant battles. The Green Bull, who served as the background board, took the initiative to put forward opinions for the first time. Okay. Although he felt that the Straw Hats would not be bloodthirsty people, for the sake of completeness, Fujitora nodded along. Finally, he sent out the direct members around him. Basti, you go too. Bar. Oh, it looks like the terrible battle is finally about to begin. Today's pirates are indeed monsters, and they actually dare to attack the Navy head-on. Kizaru shrugged nonchalantly, with the same wretched look on his face. I am the strongest officer of the Straw Hats. Author, Super Red. Chapter 217. Looks like I need to warm up too. Kizaru moved his hands and feet in a serious manner, as if he was warming up before the battle. Snored. You should warm up well to avoid spraining your foot before you hit it. The CP chief snorted coldly. He was so annoying that he started to get angry again. Anyway, his image had hit rock bottom. He was already disliked by the Navy to the extreme. He immediately broke the pot. Have you ever tasted the feeling of being kicked at the speed of light? Kizaru grinned, showing his yellow teeth, looking like a wretched uncle. What do you mean? The CP chief looked a little ugly. I mean, you can see it now. Light speed kick. The photons accumulated on Kizaru's legs, and the calves burst out with dazzling light. Everyone could only see a flash of golden light, and this guy had disappeared from where he was. Damn it, no. Kizaru, if you dare to touch me, the world government will not let you go. The CP chief, whose heart was tense, folded his hands and hardened them into iron blocks to block his chest, while roaring and threatening loudly, like the wail of a defeated dog. Bang, an explosion comparable to a large yield explosive, not far away on the sea. Ring. What, is everything okay? Finding that nothing happened in front of him, and that his arm was completely unscathed, CP Chief's expression was unexpectedly dull. Just when he didn't understand the situation, Kizaru's obscene voice came from a distance. Oh, I'm trying my best to eradicate pirates. Isn't this the duty of our general? Why does the world government want to punish me? After kicking a kid and taking out 5 or 6 of the 9 red scabbard heroes, Kizaru turned around and showed a narrow smile towards the CP chief. He also pretended to be puzzled. He looks like a wretched uncle with winking eyes. People who look at him can't help but feel like punching him in the face. You fool me, the CP chief's face was as dark as water. Even though it was covered by a mask, no one could see it. However, his gloomy tone fully explained his mood to everyone. Where do I start from? In order to show you the effect of light speed kick, I took a huge risk. Kizaru shrugged, his face full of innocence. It's so scary, so scary. It's really worthy of being a country that has been conquered. The guy who became the 9 red scabbard heroes is really awesome. The good show of the wretched uncle is happening again. He screamed, it's scary, then he hit a child with his feet and slapped him in the face. Of course, Kizaru is a soft persimmon. Even if he is a salted fish, that is also a salted fish that paddles in the water, and is definitely a salted fish that allows people to have their own flesh and blood. Damn it, CP Director's eyes are about to spit fire. Those who don't know better think that he has inherited Akainu's lava fruit. That's enough. Come on, everyone. If you delay any longer, the situation will be unsustainable. Fujitaro looked at Kizaru deeply, and without saying anything, he directly leaned on his cane, supported his body, and used the gravity fruit to pull him, and rushed to the battlefield at the lead. Although he had used the thunder net before, it took him a lot of power. But just like this, let him watch the soldiers charging and killing on the warship, listening to the crying and wailing in his ears. Fujitaro said that he really couldn't do it. TCH. Even though his eyes were tightly closed, Kizaru was shocked at the sight of Fujitaro. He put away his careless look and shrugged, with a rare serious look on his face. Ouch, the new generation is indeed a monster. Yada mirror. The mirror light spilled out from Kizaru's hand, and after refraction, it directly formed a track of light. After jumping up, he directly used the track to move at the speed of light, leaving the scattered 9 heroes of the red scabbard behind, and disappeared into the sea. Above. Tisk, they're all here, I can't just sit idle. Green Bull smacked his lips and turned into an afterimage and disappeared. In the blink of an eye, The only remaining senior officials on the warship were the CP agencies. In the Navy, even the lieutenant generals followed the three generals and rushed forward. "Sir, do you want Zero to be activated? Target Zero is too big and it is not convenient to start it at the moment. Let's use the time gained by the Navy to start accumulating power. When the time comes, I will give the order and you will immediately cooperate." The CP director calmed down and shook his head. The reason why he dared to be so arrogant, and even dared to face the Straw Hats without taking them seriously after being defeated, was because he had this secret weapon. Otherwise, the Straw Hats would be surrounded and suppressed. It is impossible for the world government to be so relieved about such a big matter and only send a group of their CP agencies. With this treasure, I can completely control it. It's just a Straw Hat group, but it's not easy to catch it. After it's done, the Navy cannot let them go, and must teach them a profound lesson. Especially that Kizaru. Let's see if they still dare to ignore his dignity. After changing into combat uniforms, the CP commander, who was preparing to fight with the help of the moon step, suddenly felt a step under his feet. Stagnation. "Sir, what's wrong?" "No, it's okay. Get me all the pacifists in the warehouse. I almost forgot how terrifying the Straw Hats are. I went there rashly like this. What if those damn Marines deceived me and were accidentally killed by a stray bullet? Although I am extremely confident in the power of the Zero, in the Straw Hat, even though he has been defeated by a group of people, he is still very confident about his own strength. Your life is at stake. This guy's lust for sex, greed for life, and fear of death are all vividly reflected in this guy. Gravity Knife Tiger. Fujitora squeezed the strength of his body, swung his sword forward suddenly, and a dark slash came out. The gravity on the track was so powerful that he would be injured if he rubbed it, and he would die if he touched it. No one dared to approach, and he was forced to a vacuum was created on the battlefield. Itoriu Iai Lion's Elegy. The sharp slash fell from the sky, like a divine sword from outside the sky, and directly collided with the arrogant pitch-black slash. Countless sword energy escaped, and the surrounding rubble was splashed. "Let us end the unfinished battle now," Zoro said as he put the word Wado in his hand and returned the sword to the sheath. He stared at the opponent seriously, his blood boiling, as if he had finally met a good opponent. "Green algae head kid. Then let us continue the fight." Fujitora tightened his purple bathrobe, and there was no trace of fear on his face. He did not refuse because of excessive consumption of strength. Instead, he readily agreed to Zoro's proposal. He can hold off Zoro for as long as he wants. Reduce the number of Marines who lost their lives. No matter what, let him do his best for this battle that should not have happened. Not for the results, but for the soldiers at the bottom who had no idea. Fujitora sighed sadly in his heart. Strong gravity permeated the field, completely kicking off the Navy's attack. The drama between the pirates, the Navy, and the world government, which was alternately staged by the three parties, finally kicked off. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I am the strongest officer of the Straw Hats. Author, Super Red. Chapter 218. Yeah? She looks like a beautiful young lady. Beautiful lady, this is a cake I made myself. Do you want some? Sanji, holding a plate of heart-shaped cakes, appeared on the chaotic battlefield and blocked the path of two beautiful Marines. It turned out that they were the two girls, Momotu and Tasuke, who had lost their famous swords. This is a battlefield. You actually invited us to eat. Dashki looked at Sanji with a look of fool. Sanji shook his head, looking like a gentleman. Tasting delicious food has no respect for the place, just like real beauty, no age has any distinction. Haha, is there such a thing? Dasichi was amused by Sanji's interesting remarks. Dashki, don't be careless. This guy is Blackfoot Sanji, Peach Rabbit's cold voice reminded him from behind, lest his companions accidentally plot something. Although this guy looks like a crazy guy, Tao Rabbit doesn't believe that Blackfoot can be rewarded with a high reward of hundreds of millions of belly rice. It's a simple thing. Huh, rather than this useless courtesy, you'd better hand over my sword. Maybe I can spare your life. Daotu still looks cold, her long snow-white legs are looming, and she is full of royal sister style. That supremely sharp knife is in the hands of the deputy captain. There was no way of returning anything that came into his hands casually. Besides, didn't the vice captain say that as long as you bring over the generation of ghosts in the hands of the 5 old stars, wouldn't he be willing to exchange them with you? Sanji refused without thinking. Although he has no resistance to beautiful women, he is not so brainless as to obey her words. Then let Baiyu come and collect your body, Peach Rabbit snorted coldly. His frosty face was filled with anger. It was as if all the trouble Baiyu had caused was directed at Sanji. Dashki, stop talking nonsense with this guy, let's go together. Even if she loses Jin Kunluo's supreme sharp sword, Daotu, who was once a general's backup, still has her own pride. With her excellent swordsmanship, she doesn't believe she can defeat a mere black-footed Sanji. Hey, I really don't want to get involved with these two beauties. Sanji shrugged. If it were normal, he might have given up directly because of the beauty. But, this time there are friends. Even if he doesn't share much pressure with them, at least he can't hold them back. A look of regret appeared on Sanji's face. It's a pity that I agreed to Nami today. So, you should stay with me. Devil's Kick Hot Pot Spectrum. Super high-speed kicking skills bloomed from Sanji's feet. The rapid friction quickly ignited the air, forming scorching red flames. The temperature of the red flames continued to rise sharply, and finally emitted a strong colorful light. Forming a dazzling continuous spectrum, blasting towards the opposite side. Have you seen the real chapter? Daotu snorted coldly, with an expected expression on his face. Welcome. Holding the long black sword tightly in her right hand, she used her unparalleled swordsmanship to her advantage. Sword light suddenly appeared out of thin air, and sword flowers bloomed in the air. Roger's blood of sin is indeed still spreading in the sea. Under Green Bull's handsome face, the words he spoke made people want to get angry. Ace did exactly that, Fire Fist. Without a word of nonsense, Ace was hit by the reverse scale and punched out directly. The burning flames lingered on his fist, and the scorching high temperature had distorted the air. Tisk, it is indeed the continuation of the blood of sin, and its strength should not be underestimated. The Green Bull was armed with domineering entanglement, and with its absolute physical skills, it dispersed the flames. Not to be underestimated? Then come and taste my true power. Great Flame Ring, Emperor Yan. With the blessing of Wushan's fire power, Ace's ability to control flames has reached an unknown level compared to before. Endless light and heat bloomed from his body, and the horizon seemed to rise again. A new sun. The extreme high temperature is enough to melt steel into molten iron, and the huge size makes ships become smaller. Accept my anger. Estair held up the sun and roared with all his strength, his veins exposed. With his good temper, he vented his anger to the world for the first time. Sure enough, you can eat random things, but you can't say random words. If you don't believe it, just take a look at the earth-colored green cow and you will know. So scary, another monster. The temperature that can even make the sea steam is even scarier than Akainu's awakening. The wretched uncle's voice sounded out of thin air, and you knew it was Kizaru even without looking. When he poked his head out from the photon room, he had a rare look of shock on his face. Even from such a distance, he could feel the burning heat in the air. The high temperature, when the fruit is burned, can have such terrifying power. The green bull is miserable. Kizaru can't help but cause trouble. No matter what Ace is like, it's not his turn to deal with it. If you love to be strong, don't worry about him. Whoosh, just after Kizaru transformed into a photon and was about to get into the channel formed by the 8-foot mirror, a violent thunder suddenly sprang out and stopped him in front of him. You bastard, you actually dare to hold back your hands in front of me, come and feel the wrath of God. The enemy is extremely jealous when they meet him. He who calls himself a god finds that someone dares to hold back a lot when he finds out that someone is fighting against him. He will not feel happy. In his eyes, this is simply a clear contempt for him. I only need half the strength to hit you. Feeling despised, Eniru launched his ultimate move directly towards Kizaru as soon as he showed up. 200 million volts, Thor. With the electric charge surging all over his body, in the blink of an eye, the unconventional boy wearing bell-bottom pants transformed into an ancient thunder god who could drive thunder and lightning, and control wind and thunder. Lei Ying. Far more powerful than before, he formed a huge spherical black cloud without the help of the ark's proverbs, just like a ball of lightning. The color of the storm changed with a finger, and thunder suddenly occurred at the thought, which is very consistent with his position as a thunder god. Except, this guy makes secondary remarks from time to time. Qinghai. Come and meet the divine punishment. This is your punishment for disrespecting God. Oh, how scary it is. As expected of the guy who calls himself the god of thunder, it's really scary. Kizaru's calm face said words that didn't mean anything, which made Eniru, the second grader, even more furious. Die. The thunderbolt is like a judgment of destruction falling from the sky. Tiankong Yun's sword. Kizaru held a lightsaber in his hand and faced him directly without dodging or dodging. White fist. The wrist turned into smoke and spewed out. Peacock chainsaw. The little finger was spinning with a peacock saw, constantly producing laceration wounds. As far as close combat is concerned, the attack can be said to be very fierce, but unfortunately the target she faced was disembodied smoke, and it was difficult to cause effective damage. It was very similar. The punch hit the air, and no matter how fierce the attack, it could not break the rules. I am the strongest officer of the Straw Hats. Author, Super Red. Chapter 219. Nefertari Vivi, Her Royal Highness the Princess of the Kingdom of Alabasta, I advise you to give up. It is impossible for a pure physical attack to cause harm to me. The smoke dissipated, and Smoker's rough figure walked out of the smoke. Although Luffy became stronger faster than imagined, he could no longer catch up with him. But, if it was just her, Smoker GE is 100% sure of winning. It is indeed the sky. Wai Wei gritted her teeth and looked a little ugly. Just now, she used too much power to help Nami inflate the wind. She no longer has the strength to use the powerful skills she obtained from Baiyu. She can only use physical skills to control the peacock. To attack with a saw, even Lieutenant General Wai Wei would be able to fight against an ordinary naval expert. But, it was actually him, he was absolutely defeated. Give up. I won't harm your life. Smog advised with a look on his face. He really didn't want to hurt this girl. Don't even think about it. There is absolutely no way I can hold Baiyu back. Take it. Peacock chainsaw countercurrent. The peacock saw leaping at the fingertips swung along Wai Wei's hands, and the attack range instantly increased by more than 10 times. The sharp sawtooth edge swept through the air to attack, with a faint cold light, and the flesh and blood were definitely bruised after being rubbed. It's a pity. What greeted her was still the cloud of smoke. Just as Smoker said, as the holder of the natural smoke fruit, he can turn any part of his body into smoke. Even if his body is defeated by a pure physical attack, he can use it instantly. Smoke reorganization. Pure physical attacks can hardly even hurt him, let alone defeat him. It's time to end. Smog shook his head and became serious. White man. White snake. Smoke vines poked their heads out of the smoke and headed towards Wei to seal off. Smoker's wrist turned into snake-shaped smoke and began to attack. Wei's attack was completely ineffective against him, and the attack was impossible to guard against. The unbalanced war scale could not maintain balance at all, and soon it became one-sided. I can't be a drag on Bai Wei gritted her teeth and tried her best to throw out the peacock saw. Even if it had no effect, it could not stop her unwillingness to struggle. Breaking the road number 11, emblazoned with thunder and lightning. The whistling lightning rushed from the sky and crashed directly into the misty smoke. Zilla, the electric light flashed in the smoke. Even if the chanting ghost path was abandoned, the power was still astonishing. With one encounter, Smoker was killed. He was forced out from the smoke. His whole body was paralyzed on the ground and twitching, and the smell of burnt protein could be heard from his short silver hair. I'm afraid it's because of the electricity. Wei looked at the man who appeared in front of her with a face of surprise. After the joy of being saved from the crisis, she couldn't help but show remorse on her face. I'm sorry, I asked you to come here to save me again. Idiot, this is my duty. Isn't it the knight's duty to save the princess? Bai rubbed the girl's head nonchalantly, and the touch was as soft as ever. Why? The show of affection in public made the shy and introverted Wei blush directly. Her crimson face was like steam from boiling water, steam rising upwards. Why are you here, Nana? Where is Nami? Don't you need to take care of her? Intermittent words came out of Wei's mouth. Because I'm too shy, I can't even speak clearly. I proposed the Wano plan, and everyone started fighting. How could I still sit and watch the show? As for Nami, I have left it to Upso to take care of. Like Loth? Is he reliable? Wei's expression was a little subtle. It was really hard to imagine that the guy who always made up random medical records and wanted to be a deserter could protect Nami. Do not worry. Have faith in Upso. Bai's eyes were far-reaching, as if he saw distant scenes through the void. Boss, look. A group of CP members wearing white masks who were ordered to take advantage of the chaos to invade Wano suddenly shouted. What's it called? It's called Soul. The leader of the white mask was full of dissatisfaction. This is an invasion operation. If it attracts the attention of those monsters on the battlefield, it will be over. It was the woman who just broke through the warship's concentrated fire and created a thunder net. She is out of coma now, and there is only one guy guarding her. Even if he is covered by a white mask, it is difficult to hide the excitement in his words. What is a big fish? This is a big fish. Such a big achievement at your fingertips is like a pie from the sky. Who? Upso, who heard the noise, took the slingshot in his hand and became tremblingly alert. Defend with a slingshot. Is this guy here to be funny? Ha ha ha. Be careful, there is no simple guy in the straw hats. There seems to be a sniper among them, and the bounty for the Sniper King has exceeded 800 million belly. Maybe it is. Boss, you are too cautious. How could the Sniper King use a slingshot as a weapon? Makes sense. The leading CP member also thinks it makes sense. Am I thinking too much? Hello. Boy over there, get out of here while the uncle is in a good mood, otherwise you will be ready to die when we change our minds. The leading CP member still cautiously made the last test. I won't leave. You, just get out of here. Upso looked like he was crying, holding a slingshot, loading the bullet and aiming at them. Me, I'm going to attack. His face was wrinkled with fear, and he was full of weakness. He was extremely threatening. Ha ha ha, is this guy a fool? Someone actually knows how to attack with a slingshot. It's like children playing house. Hey, it seems like it really launched. Idiot, how is that possible? You, you really attacked. As the CP members looked at the joke, a lead bullet that smelled like gunpowder smoke was shot out of the slingshot by Upso. Must kill gunpowder star. Be careful, there are explosives. The leading CP member smelled a strange smell and immediately realized something was wrong. He quickly shouted a warning. Unfortunately, it was a step too late. Even with the help of a slingshot, Mars still arrived in the blink of an eye. In a short period of time, the CP members there was no time to dodge, so it was worth using the 6 most skilled moves. Iron. The blood flowed and solidified, and the stagnant body was as hard as steel. If it were attacked by ordinary lead bullets, it would probably leave a mark. Unfortunately, what he faced this time was explosives. Bang, the explosion sounded, and the pungent smoke filled the air. The strong impact sent the member flying 5 or 6 meters away. Puff. Scarlet blood, mixed with internal organs fragments, spurted from his mouth to the sky. Then, he fell heavily to the ground, not knowing whether he was dead or alive. Despicable guy. Don't give him a chance to aim, let's all do it together. The leading CP member roared and rushed forward directly. I am the strongest officer of the Straw Hats. Author, Super Red. Chapter 220. Lanjiao Quartet. Finger gun bone crushing flow. Paper painting and travel. Moon step, volley step. The bosses were angry, and the subordinates certainly didn't dare to watch the show. The remaining members of the CP organization followed behind, and they all used their own unique 6 moves at the bottom of the box. Woo, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. Upso looked like he was crying, his face was wrinkled and squeezed into a ball, and tears flowed out like a fountain. People couldn't help but suspect that this guy was made of water. But, even so, even though his fingers were trembling, he still didn't look like he wanted to run. His legs stood on the ground, like tree roots rooted in the soil. I can't leave, Nami is still here, by you entrusted, me, absolutely not. Get out of here, everyone, Upso cried with a sad face and roared without any confidence. Must kill gunpowder star. A series of gunpowder stars were shot out from the slingshot in Upso's hand. Although his hands were shaking like a Parkinson's patient out of fear, the accuracy of the gunpowder stars was not affected at all. The perfect hit is to say that it is too small. There are simply no false starts, not even a blank bullet. Unfortunately, the other party is a professional agent of the CP organization after all. After being prepared, it is too difficult to use this gadget to hurt them. It smells like sulfur. The gunpowder stars were broken into the air by various means before they could perform their duties, and exploded into fireworks a few meters in front of them. Apart from adding more smoke, it had no actual effect at all. Woo, what I didn't want to think about was that it was you who forced me. Upso cried harder, with snot bubbles almost bursting out of her nose. With a look of despair on her face, before the other party arrived, she tremblingly picked up the golden mask in her arms. What is this guy doing? Doesn't he think that by covering his face, he thinks we can't see him? No, this mask looks so familiar, it looks like the Sniper King in the Bounty Order. Does this idiot think he can transform by wearing the mask of the Sniper King? Idiot, you really transformed. As the mask gradually covered Upso's mournful face, a cold murderous intention suddenly surged from his weak body. A mountain of corpses and a sea of blood came from him, like a shura coming from hell. Average. The stagnant bloody smell makes it difficult to breathe. Yan Shuangying's personality turned on. Bang, a black bullet penetrated the void. By the time the leading CP member reacted, the scorching wind and waves caused by the bullet marks had already permed a few strands of curls on the hair on his head. What? If I lower the muzzle even half an inch, you will see your boss's brain. Upso blew out the smoke from the muzzle and gave an explanation coldly. Flowers, bells, and whistles, all kinds of tricks, give them all to me. Cold sweat dripped from his forehead, but the strength of the crowd gave him confidence after all. The leading CP member felt cruel and rushed forward with his shave speed. Numbers mean nothing to me. A dozen pitch-black bullets followed the solemn words, piercing the tranquility in the air. Bang bang bang, a dozen blood flowers bloomed on the CP members, one for each person, without any waste. It was like calling for death. The crow announced their fate. Why do some people always think they can kill me? Upso, who had a golden face, slowly put the gun back to his waist, his words full of helplessness. There was only a scene of Shura covered in blood. CP members, and even kept his eyes wide open until he died, wondering how he could have provoked such a terrifying murderer if he was just here to pinch a soft persimmon. It seems that Upso lived up to my expectations. Bayou chuckled from the corner of his eyes, as if he had seen through the ending of everything. Why? Bayou, what are you talking about? Wai Wei came over curiously. Nothing. Bayou shook his head and turned his gaze in another direction. After hiding for so long, it's time for you little mice to come out. Bayou's face was relaxed, with a faint smile on his lips. He looked like he was holding a pearl of wisdom. No way, he can't find us. It's definitely a scam, be careful to hide it, otherwise you'll fall into the trap if it's exposed. The guy lurking in the dark is obviously very confident in his lurking skills. Ah! Is anyone nearby? Wai Wei's eyes narrowed, and regardless of whether it was useful or not, she instinctively put on the peacock saw, put on a fighting posture, and looked around with a vigilant face. She didn't encounter threats, she just wanted to fight for the sound of the daughter flowers. Even if the strength is not good, you can still protect yourself as much as possible and not burden Bayou. Tisk, it seems that the little mouse in the dark is unwilling to come out on its own initiative. Bayou smacked his mouth, his eyes suddenly condensed with a hint of smile, then don't blame my subordinates for being ruthless. Chapter 91 of Breaking the Way, Thousand-Hand Bright Sky-Killing Cannons. Bayou would not have any soft-hearted feelings towards the ambushers with ulterior motives. Raising his hand was the ghost path in high letters. Even if he gave up singing, the power should not be underestimated. Dozens of rays of light appeared out of thin air, overlapped and exploded in the direction of Bayou's fingertips. The rays of light seemed light and thin, but the energy reaction contained in them was by no means inferior to that of a large amount of TNT. If they were all released, it would be impossible to even the ships under your feet can be blown to pieces. Faced with this kind of behavior of throwing away the enemy at the slightest disagreement, how could the guys who were ambushing in secret still sit still? They all jumped out from around the corner. Joke. If he hides any longer and takes a hard blow, the grass on the grave will be 3 feet high, and there will be a hammer in ambush. Everyone's fruit, big Buddha form. The bright golden light lit up, and the bronze skin of the Buddha gave everyone a sense of peace of mind. Under the majestic body of the Buddha, it was finally possible to avoid Bayou's ghost attack. How could you possibly have discovered us? The latest optical concealment device invented by Dr. Vegapunk can even block sight, hearing, and color. How could you possibly? Although he thought he was hiding perfectly, he was easily seen through by the other party. Even if he couldn't be called angry, the CP chief was really shocked. Is there a traitor? The suspicious CP chief looked around suspiciously. There are always unscrupulous people who want to harm me. Discover? Bayou shook his head and said casually, I was just testing it casually. He would not be stupid enough to tell others about his detection methods. Especially when the other party is his mortal enemy, the world government. How did he recognize it? Bayou is not blind, and he couldn't help but reveal the obvious mark of the white mask. He don't even say that you have watched One Piece. He is obviously a lackey of the world government. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I am the strongest officer of the Straw Hats. Author, Super Red. Chapter 221. Just try it casually. Of course the CP chief doesn't believe it. Gee, I didn't expect that a dignified marshal from the Warring States period could do this kind of work as a rat in the gutter. It really opened my eyes. Bayou was too lazy to talk nonsense with this idiot. He pretended to be curious and looked at another familiar figure beside him. Ahem, old man, I have resigned from office and am no longer the Marshal of the Navy. I am just an idler now. Genkuo, who was caught red-handed, had an extremely embarrassed face. He had been so famous all his life, but he was caught by a junior doing such a thing. The thin-skinned Zhangguo wanted to find a hole in the ground and crawl into it. Hey, I don't like hearing this anymore. What does it mean to resign? In my heart, Marshal of the Warring States period, you have always been the strongest Marshal of the Navy. Bayou gave a thumbs up with a look of admiration. What the hell is this guy trying to do again? There must be a monster when something goes wrong. Sengoku, who felt something was wrong, quickly became vigilant. He didn't think that Bayou really admired him. Whether it was from Garp, Qing Pheasant, or rumors, this guy couldn't get along with Lu Su. Above, what's going on today? Warring States frowned, his face was heavy, and his mind, known as the Wisdom General, was running wildly. What the hell? What the hell can I do? Marshal of the Warring States period, have you forgotten the days when we sat down together and drank and talked happily? How could you think of me like this? Bayou said with an innocent face. Those who didn't know it thought he had suffered. It's like he was wronged in vain. Warring States. Can you tell me what's going on? The most evil pirate among pirates, the replicator Bayou, why do you admire you, a retired admiral? And, drinking and talking, CP Director General's solemn words rang in his ears. Warring States' already nervous heart began to feel heavy. Correct. This guy is definitely trying to sow discord. Senguo, who guessed Bayou's purpose, not only did his expression not improve, but he fell deeper and deeper into the abyss. Because he had already felt someone's suspicious gaze coming through the mask. The plan doesn't have to be subtle, just that it works. Apparently, someone fell into the trap. When Warring States was feeling cold in his heart, the voice of the CP chief began to sound. Warring States, you are not a member of this extremely evil generation, and you have some connections in private. The words he said were suspicious, and the look in his eyes became more dangerous. It seemed that he had determined that there was some unclear relationship between Bayou and Warring States. The CP chief's heart froze. In this case, then Bayou can easily find their hidden location, which is easy to explain. Sure enough, there is a mole. Depend on. Feeling the increasingly suspicious gaze on him, Zenguo couldn't help but curse secretly. If you're not afraid of opponents who are like gods, you're afraid of teammates who are like pigs. You wouldn't take it seriously if the other person was so obviously trying to sow discord. How could I have anything to do with this guy? Although I wanted to kill this hopelessly stupid guy. But for the sake of the overall situation, Warring States still suppressed his temper and denied it. So discord, the CP chief looked at Warring States non-committally. Then I'll trouble you, Lord Sengoku, to fight this guy. With your strength, you can definitely capture him easily and prove yourself. The words of the CP chief sounded respectful, but in fact they were even more distant. Maybe he still had various plans in mind, but at least on the surface, Bayou's plan seemed to be working. Snort, Warring States snorted coldly. Although he had already planned to take action with all his strength, being forced to prove it and taking the initiative to help are always two completely different feelings. Warring States is also worthy of being a wise general. In the blink of an eye, I realized the intention of the CP chief. This guy didn't think he was an undercover, he was clearly seeking personal revenge. I was angry at Aoji and Fujitora and had nowhere to vent. Now that I have the opportunity, why don't I just spread it all on his own body? Of course, the Warring States period, who had figured this out, didn't have a good look towards him. Snort. I didn't expect that the dignified replicator Baiyu would be such a talkative guy. Then let's see the truth behind our hands. Don't give Baiyu a chance to continue to pester and talk, lest he cause any trouble and let himself be caught by the guys from the CP agency. Warring States' face condensed, and he took action with a straight face. Everyone's fruit, Big Buddha form. Shockwave. The golden Buddha's body appeared on the deck, and he raised his hand to give Baiyu a bright blast of energy. Chapter 88, The Flying Dragon Strikes the Thief and the Sky-Shaking Thunder Cannon. Baiyu raised his right hand slightly, abandoned the chanting ghost path and took out his hand. A huge linear beam of light was emitted from his palm, and he met the shockwave of the giant Buddha without dodging. Boom, the two beams of light collided fiercely, the powerful air waves rolled out, and I was so weak that I couldn't even stand on the deck. He is worthy of being a marshal of the Warring States period, and his strength should not be underestimated. Looking at the light beam that was constantly compressing the space, Baiyu slowly said. Chapter 91, of Breaking the Way, a 1,000-hand bright sky shooting cannon. Another high-profile ghost shot was released, and dozens of intertwined rays of light extended a helping hand. Bang bang bang, after a roar and explosion, the power of the beam finally overwhelmed the shockwave of the giant Buddha, completely neutralizing the Warring States attack. Invisible. Tisk tisk, the marshal of the Warring States period really didn't hold back. Did you forget so quickly, Xiaoyuhe by the Daming Lake? Oh no, Chiao Chiao by the Daming Lake. Baiyu smacked his mouth and winked at Warring States. What are you saying? Warring States had a gloomy face. After he said the words, he realized something was wrong belatedly. Damn it, he followed this guy's train of thought again. His heart sank, and Warring States, who sensed something was wrong, rushed to take action before Baiyu could speak. The giant Buddha's majestic body moved. Every punch and kick was a natural disaster. Even the water on the sea surface was stirred up by the strong wind pressure. The best way to prevent this guy from talking and avoid falling into his trap is to block his mouth with your fist. It's a pity, someone seems to have overestimated his own strength. Marshal of the Warring States period, your old friend Chopper is still here. You can't get into a serious fight just because there are outsiders present. Baiyu turned sideways to avoid Sengoku's ferocious attack, directly picked up the group pet at hand and threw it over. The other party didn't want to fight with you, and threw a cute pet at you, Chopper. It's you. Sengoku's pupils shrank. After becoming famous, Sengoku will never forget the first Waterloo in his fighting career. This seemingly harmless cute pet in front of him had terrifying abilities after his transformation, and he was once beaten by him. It also has a strange ability that can cause the area being attacked to completely lose its intuition, as if it had been cut off by special means. I am the strongest officer of the Straw Hats. Author, Super Red. Chapter 222. Monster Strengthening. Chopper's body grew rapidly in the air, turning into the size of a giant in the blink of an eye. Sengoku was afraid of Chopper. Chopper, who had fought against Sengoku and experienced his terrifying side, was not afraid of him. He didn't dare. Slowly strengthening, Chopper immediately started to open up. Carved hoof cherry. Huge hooves descended from the sky, carrying the will to trample everything. Sengoku's eyes were frozen, not daring to meet him, and he hurriedly dodged backwards. When the familiar green light appeared in Chopper's hands, the fear in Sengoku's eyes reached its peak. He directly abandoned the previous open and close attack method, shrunk the body of the bronze Buddha, and started tossing and turning with Chopper in a small space. He did not dare to face Chopper with punches, for fear of hitting him again. Invite strange attacks, so that the body is paralyzed and loses the ability to attack. However, he seems to be the best way to deal with it. In the eyes of others, that is not the case. A dignified former Marshal of the Navy, everyone has fruit. The owner can be called the world's top powerhouse the Warring States period. He was actually beaten to the point of shrinking by the ferocious beast that the ship's doctor turned into from the Straw Hat crew. The surrounding decks were in dilapidated state due to the aftermath of the battle, but there was not a single direct wound on the two men. Hundreds of rounds had passed, and they were still dealing with the strange situation. This, I'm afraid it's not a match fixing. The CP chief's expression gradually became more subtle. Could it be that my previous suspicion was correct, that Sengoku was really an undercover agent of the Straw Hats? Or is it that the Straw Hats are related to revolutionaries, and Sengoku is therefore in contact with them? Suddenly an idea flashed in the CP director's mind. Iron Fist Garp had previously intercepted the Straw Hats, but he was concerned that Luffy was his grandson, so he let them go. Sengoku and Garp have a close relationship, and maybe that's why they have a close relationship with the Straw Hats. In addition, Kizaru's identity is doubtful. That guy is a general promoted by the Warring States period. Moreover, CP0 members are said to have seen Garp, Sengoku, Dragon, and the Straw Hats drinking and singing together. Incredible, incredible. The Navy has been completely emptied by revolutionaries and pirates. As if he had discovered some shocking secret, CP's breathing became rapid. I was so busy chatting with old friends that I almost forgot about you. Baiyu turned his head and looked at the bewildered white masks. Do you really have a close relationship with the Warring States period? What kind of collusion is there between you? The CP chief stared at Baiyu with burning eyes. Collusion? What are you talking about? I just admire the reputation of the Warring States Marshal. There is nothing wrong between us. Baiyu shook his head and denied it. Really? The CP chief's heart sank. If Baiyu nodded, he might not be so sure. But Baiyu's reaction of shaking his head in denial only aroused the suspicion of a smart man like him. If Warring States is innocent, Baiyu wants to slander, why should he deny it? Wouldn't it be easier to just admit it directly? Then there is only one possibility left. I found that something was wrong and wanted to clear the suspicion for Sengoku. It was like the straw that broke the camel's back. The CP chief, who was already suspicious and full of doubts about the Warring States period, now had his suspicions about him completely confirmed. Even if Sengoku is not an undercover agent, he is definitely closely related to the revolutionaries and the Straw Hats. Can't wait any longer, Commander CP's eyes narrowed and he made up his mind. We must take advantage of the situation and before Warring States turns the gun around, otherwise this guy Baiyu will be completely ruined. The task assigned by Wulaoxing himself, if something goes wrong, even the Tianlong people who are directly subordinate to him will definitely not be able to protect him. Pacifists, all out. Boom, 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 loud footsteps sounded on the deck, and around the corner of the ship, dozens of tall guys, 90% similar in appearance to Bartholomew Bear, came suddenly. They were huge, the ears are semicircular, and the inside looks like metal. The mobile machine seems to have no consciousness. Is this what you rely on to stand in front of me? Baiyu glanced at it casually, not paying attention to these dozens of expensive artificial humans at all. If they had just entered the New World, they might still pose a threat to him. No. It's purely here to deliver food. Snort. You won't know until you try it. All pacifists, attack me. At the command of the CP director, the artificial people raised their hands and released bright laser rays. The 73 pairs of lotus green fire pendants of breaking the way. After giving up chanting, burning fire lotus bloomed from the sky, colliding with the laser rays, making an explosive roar. Bang bang bang, with the help of the roar of artillery fire, the CP chief's hand hidden in his sleeve quietly moved towards directly under the Wulaoxing sent a hidden message. That's it, Bai raised his eyebrows. Looking at the scorched marks left by the explosion on the pacifists, Bai's eyes were self-evident. Stung by the clear disdain in Bai's eyes, CP's lungs almost exploded with anger. Although it was just he wanted to use it as a cover to pass on information. But he didn't expect the pacifists to be so useless. Dozens of androids joined forces to attack, and they couldn't even stop the opponent with a single move. Don't underestimate the power of our CP organization. Stop holding back and release all the pacifists. Full power on. Taste the true strength of the pacifist after being strengthened and transformed by Dr. Baker Panga. The veins on the CP chief's forehead popped out and he roared loudly. Oops, it was like turning on some switch. The pacifist standing on the ground blankly, a scarlet light suddenly appeared in the eyes of the pacifist. It was like turning on some key. Like a switch. The originally expressionless face gradually began to show expression. It was like going from a puppet to a real person. Did you come back alive? Bai's eyes narrowed slightly, and he was a little surprised. Unexpectedly, after losing the tyrant bear as a model, Baker Panga's scientific research speed accelerated, and he directly transformed humans into bionic humans. He deserves to be the #1 scientist in One Piece. It's really true. Bai couldn't help but be a little surprised, but that was all. 8 gates of Dungia, Jingmen, open. Red steam rose from Bai's body. His physique was already good, and he immediately stepped into the monster level. Just stepped forward, even the 6 moves, shaving was useless. Bai's body the shape has almost reached a level that cannot be captured by the naked eye. Show Lotus. The vicious kick took the lives of the 3 pacifists in front of me. So fast, the CP chief's pupils shrank. He could barely capture the afterimage left by Bai solely by relying on what he saw and heard.